Alright, so this video right here is I'm going to tell you about how the process goes from when a lead turns into a prospect, the prospect turns into an applicant, and the applicant turns into a future soldier. Alright, so let's say in the recruiting world, a lead is a person who has a full name and they have some type of contact information where you are able to contact them. So they're a lead at this point. So you contact this lead. The lead said that they're interested in serving and that they're willing to have a sit down and have an appointment with you to go over the Army job opportunities, benefits, and things of that nature. Then they become a prospect. All right. So then they turn into a prospect. So let's say you have the appointment and they decide that, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to enlist. Then they become an applicant. So the requirements to join the Army is you have to have a high school diploma or a GED. You have to meet the height and weight requirements. Based on your age, based on your height, determines the weight that you're allowed. If you do not meet the weight requirements, then you have to meet the body fat requirements. Okay? No major arrest or no felonies at all. You could have traffic tickets. You could have had little minor things here and there, which would require a waiver. But 9 times out of 10, the waiver would get approved. But overall, like, no, you can't be a felon to enlist. I don't agree, but I have no say in that. You know, people make mistakes, and I feel like people make mistakes, and if they learn from it and they want to move on and better their lives, then I'm with it. But you have to be a U.S. citizen. I said high school diploma. If you are married, the max amount of children that you can have for active duty is 3 kids. So you can have 3 kids, and you, your wife, and 3 kids. If you have more than 3, then it requires a waiver, and that just depends. A waiver is basically permission or memorandum stating that you are able to enlist despite whatever the situation is that would have made you not qualified. Okay. And of course, you have to pass the ASVAB. You gotta pass the ASVAB, and that's a big thing. That's one of the biggest obstacles that our applicants face is the ASVAB. So the ASVAB is a technical aptitude test, and it tests you on everything, and it gives you your strengths and weaknesses and what you will be good at. And that's what all branches use for you to be able to enlist. I think each branch has different qualifications or scores to be able to qualify to enlist. But for us, you need a 31. So then the ASVAB is broken down into line scores. These line scores cover management, technical skills, verbal, management, mechanical, science, things of that nature, right? So this is what the system looks at when it comes to job selection, because with us, you pick the job that you want to do. All right. So those are the basic requirements to be able to enlist. Of course, you got to have a social security card. You got to have a driver's license or a state ID or a school ID. All right. You got to have a birth certificate. You got to have, social security card, birth certificate, high school diploma or GED, or if you're currently in high school, because you can enlist while you're in high school, you got to have a memorandum from your counselor stating that you were in good standing and that you're going to graduate, you know. And we also could get a transcript showing that you're good. All right. So anyway, back to the prospect. So the prospect says that they want to join. So I'll describe the processing part. So I'm going to use a prospect who has not taken the ASVAB at all. So if a prospect already took the ASVAB and they passed and they're good to go, the only thing that they'll have to do is go to MEPS to do the physical. MEPS is an installation that is operated by civilians, where they do an actual physical on the applicant. They'll do a physical from head to toe. They'll check your eyes, they'll check your hearing, they'll check your blood, they'll give you a drug test. They'll check your whole body and make sure that you are physically capable of enlisting. If there are any issues or anything of that nature, then that will disqualify them. And we face that plenty of times too, where people make it to the floor. We call it the floor. When you go to MEPS, we call it being on the floor. They'll get on the floor and they'll end up getting disqualified. Sometimes they got disqualified for things that weren't even true. Sometimes when they go to MEPS, MEPS are asked them questions about their physical prowess, their physical and mental health, and their mental state. And sometimes applicants will ignorantly answer questions that aren't true, but MEPS is going to take what you say seriously. So they could, for example, we had an applicant who had like a scar on their arm, and when they went to MEPS, the one of the doctors asked them, you know, why do you have that scar? And the applicant was like, I'm not sure, I guess I was itching and I scratched myself. And it was like, well, do you think you might have eczema? And the person was like, yeah, I probably do have eczema. I could. MEPS said, okay, put down the disqualified them. So now it's they verbally said they have eczema, something that they didn't even have, and now they're disqualified. So anyway, prospect, we go through the process. The prospect, excuse me, brings their source documents. They'll bring a high school diploma, they'll bring a social security card, they'll bring a driver's license, state ID, all their source documents that's required. We'll upload it in the system. We'll build the packet up. All right. There are two packets. You can do the paper packet or you could do it on the system. Regardless, we have to put it in the system. But for the applicant, you could give the applicant a paper packet and they could fill out the packet. The packet will ask you about you, it'll ask you all the places that you live in the past 10 years, all the schools that you've been to in the past 10 years. It'll ask you for character references. You'll need like 3 character references. You'll need like references for every place that you ever lived in your life in the past 10 years. You'll need to you'll answer questions about your physical health, as far as have you ever had any surgeries, have you ever had any type of anxiety, depression, things of that nature, and all this type of stuff like that in this application. Now, normally if we're doing the interview process at the station, we'll pull up the digital and we'll start filling out the information as they're right there, and we'll do the whole packet. We'll upload all our source documents. Once everything is uploaded, if they haven't taken the ASVAB already, then we'll schedule them to take the ASVAB. So they'll take the ASVAB at MEPS. So we'll schedule for them to take the ASVAB. You have to wait 72 hours from when you complete a packet before they can go. So how it goes is it just depends on what station that you're at for recruiters. MEPS could be in another state like it is for us, or it could be like farther in the same state but like way out. So we have 2 MEPS installations. We have one in Houston, Texas, which is about 4 hours away, and we have one in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is about under 2 hours away. Either way, a shuttle will take them, and if not, then we'll take them. But for the most part, a shuttle will take them. So on the day that they're scheduled to go, they'll come to our station at like 10 in the morning. We'll have ordered the shuttle tickets for them prior, and they'll come. We'll give them the COVID sheet, because they have to be quarantined during this COVID situation. They have to quarantine for 2 weeks before they have went. So they'll fill out the COVID form stating that they have quarantine and things of that nature. We'll interview them again, make sure that what they put on this application is correct. There's no physical issues, no mental issues, anything of that nature. Once everything is good to go, when the shuttle comes, they'll get on the shuttle. The shuttle will take them to MEPS. So when they get to MEPS, they'll stay overnight. They'll end up staying overnight. You always stay overnight unless you're just going just to test. But this person is going to test and they're going to enlist. So they'll go, I'm going to use Shreveport, Louisiana. They'll go to Shreveport, Louisiana. They'll spend the night. The next morning, they'll get up early in the morning. They'll go and they'll take the test. All right. Or they might take the test that day and then spend the night at the hotel. And then the following day, they do the physical. It just depends. Sometimes they'll do the test one day and they'll do the physical the next day. Sometimes they'll do the test and physical on the same day. You'll take the ASVAB test. Now, once you pass the ASVAB test, you're halfway through. So now you got to do the physical. So then after that, they'll do the physical. If they pass the physical, then they'll go see a counselor that is there at the station, at the MEPS station. The counselor will show them all the jobs that they qualify for based on their ASVAB scores. They'll pick the job that they want. They'll pick the contract that they want, and then they'll enlist. And that's pretty much how the process goes. Now, if they already took the ASVAB and they already qualified on the ASVAB, we at our station can pull up the jobs that's available based on their score. They can pick their job here at the station. We'll reserve the job for them, and then when they go to MEPS, they'll just do the physical. They'll do the physical, and then that's it. They'll go see the counselor. Yeah, we already picked the job. This is what I wanted. and then they'll enlist. But that's pretty much how the process goes. Normally, an applicant can enlist within a week. But normally it takes about 2 weeks. It just depends. Sometimes we have applicants who we need a lot of source documents. They've had medical issues. So if an applicant had any type of medical issues or medical history, we have to get that medical documentation. So we have to go to the hospital. We got to get the information for the medical issues to put into the packet. Some of these medical issues require them to have waivers. So the process could be quick as like within a week. Process could be months. We've had applicants that we've had to work at for months for them to be able to finally go to MEPS to enlist. But that's pretty much the process of how a lead turns from a lead to becoming a future soldier. Once they enlist and they become a future soldier, then they receive a counseling, which is basically a sit down stating what our expectations are of you now that you're a future soldier. As a recruiter, I am no longer allowed to, I can't hang out with the applicant. I can't drink with them. I can't gamble with them. I can't ask them to do things or anything of that nature. They are now future soldiers. I don't do that anyway, but I'm just saying, like, you really can't now. They're future soldiers. And normally they ship out about a month from when they enlist. It just depends. If they're in high school, you cannot ship until you graduate high school. But if you're just a regular civilian, you're already an adult and all that stuff like that, normally it's about a month out from when you ship. During that month, you cannot get in any trouble. You still got to meet the height and weight requirements and everything of that nature. When it's time for you to ship, if you're no longer in your height and weight, or you got arrested or whatever the case is, that can either disqualify you and you no longer can enlist anymore, or it could push your date back of when you were supposed to go, or you could lose your job, because if you're not able to ship on that date, everything falls into place. So once you pick your job and you sign the contract, your school dates are already set. There's dates for everything. So if something was to happen that stops you from being able to ship on that day, then your school date will have to change and everything will have to change, and that job availability might not be open anymore. But anyway, that's pretty much how the processing goes for somebody to enlist. These are the qualifications and how the process goes for somebody to enlist in the United States Army. All right.